your credibility like? Because you said that these tariffs would go into effect on Monday. You said no pause, and today there is a pause. So how can people believe your words today?
It's not a question of that. You have to have flexibility. I could say, here's a wall, and I'm going to go through that wall. I'm going to go through it no matter what, and keep going, and you can't go through the wall. Sometimes you have to be able to go under the wall, around the wall, or over the wall. These guys know that better than anybody, right? You got to go around them sometimes. You're not going to go through them.
Following up on our recent video about how Donald Trump abruptly caved, folded in the global trade war that he initiated by pausing most of those tariffs for 90 days, Trump was brutally confronted and almost mocked by a group of reporters to his face just a few moments ago, in a way which left him visibly insecure as he tried to justify him backing down in the face of widespread backlash. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, friends, as you know, the press, they tend to grade Donald Trump on a curve. They tend to try to avoid provoking his ire, knowing how mercurial and wrathful he is. But even these reporters seemed fed up with Trump's bullshit regarding the global tariff war, the global trade war, and again, almost mocked him with some of the questions. Pretty blunt stuff. And his answers, again, betrayed a visible insecurity, a palpable insecurity as he stammered and stuttered his way through. No sense made whatsoever. We're going to play some of these clips and unpack it together.
Here.
President, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
You started the morning saying be cool, and just a few hours later, there was a pause put in on the tariffs. Can you walk us through your thinking about why you decided to put a 90-day pause?
Well, I thought that people were jumping a little bit out of line. They were getting yippy, you know? They were getting a little bit yippy, a little bit afraid, unlike these champions, because we have a big job to do. No other president would have done what I did. No other president. I know the presidents, they wouldn't have done it. And it had to be done. What was happening to us on trade, not only with, you know, if you look at it, not only with China, but China was by far the biggest abuser in history, and others also, but here.
You see, he's just incoherent. He is going syllable by syllable. He can't articulate a substantive, cogent thought on this. No other president would have done what I've done. You mean threaten global tariffs and then issue a 90-day pause, effectively walking them back after provoking a trade war, not just with the European Union, but China as well? The consequences of which we have no idea because you've left us in such a chaotic mess. What is it that you did that no other president would do? Do the stupid thing, provoking a painful and unnecessary trade war, and then having to cave in the face of pressure after insisting that you wouldn't? Is that what you're talking about? Stunning stuff. Again, he can't articulate a coherent vision. Here's another clip.
Because it does take guts, believe me.
Was it the bond markets that persuaded you to reverse course?
I was watching the bond market. The bond market is very tricky. I was watching it, but if you look at it now, it's beautiful. The bond market right now is beautiful. But yeah, I saw last night where people were getting a little queasy. I think everything had. Well, the big move wasn't what I did today. The big move was what I did on Liberation Day. We had Liberation Day in America. We were liberated from all of the horrible deals that were made, all of the horrible trade deals that were made. And I was helped by people just like this, senator, congressman, and friends, right? And we had great help in the Senate. Our Republican senators have been amazing. They stood tall. And like...
Again, totally incoherent. You know, yeah, what I did, the bond markets, yeah. Well, I mean, not the bond markets. And by the way, what I did... You know, today wasn't the big deal. It was Liberation Day. But didn't you just effectively pause Liberation Day? Didn't you effectively undo the Liberation Day tariffs that you said would bring back so much prosperity to the United States? What? It's totally incoherent, totally, because he's grasping, he's fumbling. Of course we know what happened. He got the political backlash. He was getting the economic backlash. He was getting polling backlash. Disastrous stuff. And again, the reporter's asking pretty blunt questions, but this one was very blunt, almost mocking.
What's your credibility like? Because you said that these tariffs would go into effect on Monday. You said no pause, and today there is a pause. So how can people believe your words today?
It's not a question of that. You have to have flexibility. I could say, here's a wall, and I'm going to go through that wall. I'm going to go through it no matter what, and keep going and you can't go through the wall. Sometimes you have to be able to go under the wall, around the wall, or over the wall. These guys know that better than anybody, right? You got to go around them sometimes. You're not going to go through them. So I consider, you know, I think in financial markets, because they change. Look how much it changed today. We went.
You see that guy's like, sure, like, yeah, you know what I'm talking about, right? Yes. Please don't look at me. But that reporter, what about your credibility? Because you said you weren't going to do this and then you did it. Aren't you basically just a bitch? Aren't you just like, didn't you fold like a loser? He did. And again, I mean, Trump didn't even fire back. He was so taken off guard, he couldn't even fire back and get defensive. He was like, no, that's not it. I have a lot of credibility. It's just, you got to be flexible. It's so pathetic. Thank God Sarah Longwell of the Bulwark put this together, a compilation of all the times Trump insisted he would not be flexible, he would not be inconsistent. These tariffs were coming, and there's not a damn thing anybody can do about it, just as a reminder.
This time I'm doing what I want to do with respect to the tariffs.
Would you be open to a pause in tariffs to allow for negotiations?
Well, we're not looking at that.
The president was asked and answered this yesterday. He said he's not considering an extension or a delay. I spoke to him before this briefing. That was not his mindset. He expects that these tariffs are going to go into effect.
There is no postponing. They are definitely going to stay in place for days and weeks. That is sort of obvious. The president needs to reset global trade. I don't think there's any chance that President Trump's going to back off his tariffs. This is the reordering of global trade.
We're going to hold the course, and this has been years in the building, years in the making.
And yet that's exactly what he did. He folded top Trump advisors, his commerce secretary, his treasury secretary are like, no, under no circumstances will we fold the White House press secretary. And then he folded, and he's folding so awkwardly. This is so painful, so painful. Here's another clip.
Have a country, it wouldn't be sustainable. So I'm honored to have done it. And, you know, look, nothing's over yet, but we have a tremendous amount of spirit from other countries, including China. China wants to make a deal. They just don't know how quite to go about it. You know, it's one of those things they don't know how quite. They're proud people. And President Xi's a proud man. I know him very well. And they don't know quite how to go about it, but they'll figure it out. They're in the process of figuring it out. But
okay, man. Again, he just ratcheted up the tariffs to 125%. I think we're at 84% at least in terms of the tariffs China's imposed on us. Trump started this thing. They're the world's second biggest economy. I mean, who the hell knows? He might withdraw all the tariffs against China tomorrow if Xi just pays him a compliment or gives him a gold star. Who knows? Here's another clip.
And we have many other countries, as you know, many more than 75. And they all want to come, and they want to come here, or they'll go to Commerce, or they'll go to Treasury.
Okay, where are the receipts? Where are these deals, right? Again, I have no doubt that there are people reaching out to Trump to try to calm him down because he's leading the world's biggest economic power, right? Nobody wants a trade war with the United States. But again, how is this an accomplishment? We had trade arrangements with them prior to this. What have you actually materially benefited? How has the American people materially benefited from this? Because again, what it looks like is you folding like a loser in a fight you never should have picked in the first place. I want to be clear. I'm glad Trump has folded, but Trump could restart this shit tomorrow, and he's undermined our credibility and our reliability. There is some damage here, at least some, which is permanent and long, or at the very least long-lasting. I suppose it's better than continuing a ridiculous trade war, but Trump should have never started the trade war in the first place, so I'm not going to give him a gold star. And I'll give you the metaphor that I used on Twitter to describe how MAGA is reacting to this. But another clip from Trump.
And it's it's like a patient is sick, you have to do surgery. Patient is very, very sick. And Joe Biden handed us over a country that was in very serious trouble, economically and in every other way. They let China run away with things. They let other countries run away.
On Biden's watch, China for the first time was no longer projected to surpass us because prior to COVID, that was seen as inevitable, simply a matter of time where China's economy would surpass ours. But thanks to the economic leadership of President Biden, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen, Yellen and Chairman of the Federal Reserve Jerome Powell, the United States recovered in such a way from COVID that we were able to continue our momentum upwards, whereas China was not. So again, this idea that Biden left him a mess is bullshit. For the second time, Trump inherited a very good, an objectively good macroeconomic set of metrics from a Democratic predecessor, and he's single-handedly driving them into the ground. One more clip.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Sir, would you consider exempting some U.S. companies, maybe some larger companies who have been hit hard in the markets the last few days
Well, I'll take a
during
look
this
at
90
it.
days?
As time goes by, we're going to take a look at it. There are some that have been hard. There are some that, by the nature of the company, get hit a little bit harder, and we'll take a look at that. Yeah.
How do you determine it over the next 90 days?
Just instinctively, more than anything else. I mean, you
Oh, God. Don't worry. No method or anything. Just my instincts. Oh, shit. That's not good. I mean, his instincts not only veer towards incompetence, but also corruption as well. So he probably will only benefit companies that he believes are politically and ideologically aligned with him. But that's a disastrous proposition in the first place because his instincts are so terrible. But yeah, obviously, and we might do a video about this, MAGA, the hardcore MAGA, is like celebrating. They're like, yeah, baby, that's the art of the deal. And so there's this meme, one of many going around. I'm adding tariffs. This will create jobs, says MAGA. I'm removing tariffs. It's the art of the deal, says MAGA. I'm adding tariffs, Trump says again. Well, this will create jobs, says MAGA. I'm removing tariffs. That's the art of the deal, says MAGA. Pathetic. And this is how I put it. Trump could announce he's shitting his pants. Shit his pants. Waddle around with shit-filled pants for days, insisting he won't wipe under any circumstance. And MAGA would, after defending him every step of the way, applaud him the moment he sheepishly reached for toilet paper. That's the MAGA cult in action. It's pathetic. It deserves your contempt, your disdain, because not only is it ruining their lives and their finances and the lives and finances and the economic circumstances of the people that they love, which is bad enough, it's affecting everybody else as well. It's pathetic. Trump blinked. He folded. He capitulated. And he's visibly insecure about it. Reporters are not only confronting him about it, but almost mocking him. Like, where's your credibility, loser? Because you said one thing and did another, like a bitch. That's what's happening. And Trump has no substantive or compelling response for it because he is indeed a loser. He folded because the political, economic, financial, and polling backlash was too intense, and even Fox News reporters are admitting that based on their own sources, and we'll discuss that in a separate video. But in the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments.